Imagine waking up one morning and your bank accounts have been frozen.
Which they froze my whole profile. Not one account, they froze every account, they froze every line of credit, everything that I have.
And no, not because you participated in the Freedom Convoy.
If your truck is being used in these protests, your corporate accounts will be frozen.
It just happened randomly and for no apparent reason. Well, this is becoming more and more common, and we're going to get into these stories, what's happening, and what you can do to protect yourself. So first of all, take a listen to this lady who had a massive amount of money frozen.
Scotia Bank is holding my husband's $10,000 check hostage. My husband deposited a check from a company he worked for. Scotia Bank put a hold on it, called it fraud, and are not releasing the funds back to us, and it has been over 30 days. They also have not released the money back to the original company so they can direct deposit us the funds either. For the past 34 days, he's been calling daily. He's not given any answers. People are beating around the bush. And now today, Scotiabank has told him that they are closing his bank account, and still no funds, no releasing of anything. He rightfully earned that $10,000 check and they are holding it from him. Like, how would you guys feel? Like, has anybody else dealt with this in Canada? This is absolutely ridiculous. On top of that, we live in a very small, remote community. We have less than 400 people. The nearest bank, just any bank, is 3.5 hours away. So we don't have the option to just go to the bank and deal with this. It's so frustrating. I
can imagine how frustrating that might be, and that is a lot of money, and just having it randomly held like that must be really concerning. But here's the thing, this isn't just a lone story from this lady here. People are having their bank accounts frozen all over the place. One thing you can do to prevent this, and I've said this many times because the banks are inherently risky in Canada, so it makes sense, is that you have multiple bank accounts. You have bank accounts in different countries as well. You have brokerage accounts, because that means that you always have access to your money. If you spread out your money, if you have over $10,000-$20,000, you should have multiple bank accounts, you should have brokerage accounts, and you should have accounts that you have access to no matter what. So if your account gets frozen, you're not in a pickle like these people. Now, if you have money that's frozen, that's a different thing, but this lady unfortunately has that case of having money frozen, but still, you should definitely have alternatives. Now, she's saying that she lives in a small town, but there are other banks out there. There's EQ Bank, which is an online bank, and their customer service is way better than the big five banks. So, you know, there's a lot of different things that you can do to protect yourself, but it's not just this person that is saying that this can happen. Take a listen to this clip.
One of the scariest parts about living in Canada is they can shut down your bank account whenever they want. Last year, I had one account with 6 figures in it, and they shut down the account on suspicion, and they kept that account shut for 6 months. Now, this was just one of my business accounts, so I didn't really care too much. However, it still had 6 figures in it that I wanted back, and they opened it up after 6 months, and they said, by the way, our mistake, nothing's wrong, you can proceed. But imagine that was my only account. I'd have no income, no bank account, and no savings. For 6 months, I'd basically have nothing.
A lot of people, they just have one bank account with one big bank in Canada. I don't get it. There are so many no-fee bank accounts that you can get, like Tangerine, which I wouldn't recommend. EQ Bank, I would recommend that one. You can have that bank account alongside one of the big banks. And by the way, this is not sponsored by EQ Bank. I'm just giving you options. The other option is a lot of Canadians, they live very close to the US border. You can just go into the United States and open a bank account at Wells Fargo. That has very low fees, and they will open your bank account. Just take your passport, take your proof of income, and they'll open a bank account for you, no problem, in the United States. And then you're even more diversified because you've got money in different countries. And that's pretty easy for most Canadians to go and do. So there's no excuse for not having another bank account in a different country, for not having a brokerage account. Most of them don't carry any fees like Interactive Brokers, for not having one of these no-fee bank accounts like EQ Bank, and just holding a negligible amount of money in there. So it's just some of the things that I think you can do to protect yourself from like this. And you don't want to be in a situation like that last guy said, which is when you're relying on your income coming into one bank account and then that gets frozen, because that would be a disaster for most people.
I told myself I won't make videos like this, but you guys gotta hear this one because it's gonna maybe save you and your headaches that we've been going through. RBC Bank, stay away from them. Complete scums. Froze our accounts twice. Once they froze my account for absolutely no reason. They are saying because a e-transfer that came into my account, $540, and that e-transfer was from a guest renting one of the cottages. I provided them all the contracts because I have obviously contracts for the bookings. I provide them text messages. I provide them all the proof. They sent it to corporate security, which they froze my whole profile. Not one account, they froze every account. They froze every line of credit, everything that I have. And that account is just being used for my commissions and e-transfers that are going in from guests.
So this affected this guy's whole business because all his money was coming into these accounts and basically they froze them. And they didn't just freeze one account, they froze his entire profile, all his lines of credit, everything like that. So again, this is just another story that is scary, yes, but it should scare people in the way that they actually go and take action to prevent this happening for them. I don't want this to happen to any of my viewers. And since I posted on X about the lady having the $10,000 frozen, that's when I got all these other videos sent, all these people saying, no, this is not an isolated incident, this is happening all the time. So you are seeing this become more and more common, and people need to protect themselves against this. Not only that, the banking system is inherently risky. Some of the banks have insane amounts of leverage, and the economy is far from healthy right now, because I'm not saying that any of the banks are imminently going to fail, but they could definitely have outages, and you just don't want to be in one of these situations where you have your money frozen or you're relying on one thing. Always have a backup plan. Never rely on one thing, especially when it comes to banking. And so many Canadians rely on one bank. It is insane.
Nothing unusual, a high volume account, and I stayed frozen. My account stayed frozen for close to 2 months. They did not notify me that there was any issues with my account until I was at the store. I was trying to pay something with a debit card.
And that's another thing. You're noticing with a lot of these stories that the people's accounts stay frozen for a long time. And, you know, if you try and contact any of the major banks, they have horrible customer service, especially Scotia Bank. And a lot of the reason for that is they just have insane amounts of people calling who are broke and just can't afford to pay their bills. I mean, that is the reality. You had exactly the same thing that was happening during the pandemic, where you could never get hold of your bank because they had so many people that were calling up saying, I want to put this payment on hold, I want to make this deferral, and the volumes were just completely off the chart. And since then, it's been exactly the same way. But interestingly enough, if you go ahead and call EQ Bank, very easy to get hold of somebody at EQ Bank. If you go ahead and call Wells Fargo, it's relatively easy to get hold of somebody at Wells Fargo as well. But you've just got to have diversification, and diversification is king. So I really do hope that this video scares people into action into diversifying their banking more, because I think that that would be better instead of people relying on one bank account, putting all their money in one bank account, as so many Canadians do. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend that you check out this video here. If you want to help support my work, then you can do that by getting the best VPN. It's a total win-win. expressvpn.com/marketmania. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.